The Thing in the Woods. When I was young, we lived in this tiny town. It had 3 streets, 2 streetlights, and about 50 homes. All of the town kids would get together and play pickup games of baseball and such during the summer months. This particular evening, after the sun went down, we decided to play laser tag. There were about 10 of us, and all of us had our own set of tag vests and laser guns. We basically took over one section of the town and would run through the yards and hide behind garages. Anything we wanted to do. We split into 5 teams of 2. I was with my stepbrother at the time, Ryan. As I mentioned earlier, there were 3 main streets in this town and lots of alleyways. One of the streets was the easternmost, and it was bordered by a marsh and woods on one side and homes on the other. Ryan and I were running down the street, thinking we had seen one of the other teams running through a yard. We were going to block them in and shoot them, so Ryan and I split up. He went west, and I stayed on the eastern road, bordering the woods. This is a scary road at night. The houses are a little dilapidated on the left, and the woods on the right have some ruins of old farmhouses scattered throughout. The marsh attracted a lot of frogs and other animals, so it was always loud. I continued walking along and soon became distracted with cracking twigs and leaves in the woods. My heart started to race, but I was frozen in fear. I just couldn't move. I looked to my right, and there was an old dead tree, and I swore that I saw a movement behind the trunk. I stared, waiting for it to move again. I saw the tall, dark figure lean its head around the trunk of the tree. I could not see any features in detail because it was nighttime, but I could make out the dark, solid figure. It was standing upright. This told me it was time to leave. I ran home and stayed inside the rest of the night. I didn't even bother to tell my stepbrother. He later came in mad because I had abandoned him. Today, I wonder if this was the same thing that chased my dad. I have posted that story as well. Wake up call, Texas style. A little background before the story. It was the summer that I turned 10 years old. I was spending the summer working with my grandfather. He was retired. In his life, he had been a soldier from World War I, farmer, mechanic, carpenter, salesman, general handyman, and anything else that needed to be done to make a living for his family. A true burly man. He and my grandmother lived in a house in Mineral Wells, Texas, that he, my dad, and uncles had built on a small farm at the edge of town. His farm was about 10 acres and covered in fruit trees and garden plots. There was a man-made pond, or tank as they are called in Texas, right outside the kitchen window. The house was small and utilitarian. It had a living room, kitchen, bathroom, and 2 bedrooms, Granny and Granddad's, and off-limits to the grandkids, and a small guest bedroom that I was staying in that summer. Someone had given my grandfather an old house for the materials in it if he would tear it down and haul it off. So my dad and uncles tore the house and hauled all of the material to Granddad's backlot. Granddad was going to use the lumber to build a workshop, guest house for all of his kids and grandkids to make use of, and my job was to pull and straighten nails and sort the lumber that was stacked out back. Summers in Texas are brutal. Granddad would get up early, before it was light outside, then wake me up. Granny always had a breakfast ready for us. We would eat and then get to work. We would work until around 10, or until Granddad thought it was warm enough. Then we would go inside, cool off, have lunch, maybe take a nap or play dominoes or cards, then go back out and work some more in the evening when it had cooled off outside. To make a short story long, one morning I woke up before Granddad had called me to get up. I had the feeling that he was in the room just staring at me. I was lying there wondering why he hadn't teased me about being a lazybones or slug-aped as he usually did. Finally, I opened my eyes to see what he was up to. When I opened my eyes, I noticed that the room was completely lit up, like the sun was coming through the windows. Then I heard a loud voice yell, "You peeked! You're dead!" Then an explosion of light. Then the whole room went dark. I was lying there with my eyes squeezed shut, scared out of my wits. I was thinking, "Holy crap, I'm dead," or something along those lines. I don't know how long I lay there thinking that I was really dead and that this was indeed a very strange experience. Finally, Granddad came into the room, flipped on the light, yelled at me to quit burning daylight, and I realized that I was still alive. After a couple of days, I asked Granddad if anything weird had ever happened to him or Granny in the house. He said, "Don't worry about it," and would change the subject whenever I tried to bring it up. When I would ask Granny, she would say that she didn't understand and change the subject. Could have been a dream, but if it was the most intense, terrifying dream that I have ever had. With Granny and grandkids' responses, I think that there was something going on, but they didn't want to scare me or any of the others. Granny and Granddad lived in the house for about another 10 years before moving into a trailer on my uncle's ranch in West Texas. Until they moved, I never slept in that room again, and if I had to go into it for any reason, would get in and get out as quickly as possible. The Shadow Man is back. It's been a while since I posted anything on here, since I only had one experience whilst I was a child. So the spirit demon creature that I have dreamed and deemed the Shadow Man has come back into my life. Now, before I say what has started happening, I will explain a bit about what happened when I was a kid. Basically, when I was younger, I had a spirit stalk me wherever I went. I always felt like I was being followed whenever I went outside when it was getting dark. I would always see it out the window, but whenever I saw it, it would run away. I believe that it increased my anger issue when I was a kid. To put it simply, when I was younger, I had anger issues that were never really tied to anything. I had a short temper, but I don't remember doing as much as people said I did. Throwing things at people's head, trying to hit people with metal bats, etc. Since I can remember, I had anger issues, and since I can remember, I saw the Shadow Man following me, and after a certain point, I stopped seeing him, and my anger issues subsided sometime around the end of elementary school. Now, I believe it is back. About a month or so ago, I felt extremely uncomfortable. I was at work around 8 and it was dark outside. I work at a fast food joint and don't usually have the later shifts, and I felt like something was watching me from outside the dining room windows. The dining room walls are pretty much all windows, by the way, and I kept feeling the need to look out the windows and look into the darkness of night. And for the second time in my life, I was extremely uncomfortable in going out into the dark because I knew it was out there. Although I knew, in the end, I had to suck it up and throw out the garbage. At the time, I just ignored it and thought I was just paranoid for no reason, but 2 weeks ago, whilst I was in the morning shift before the store even opened, I saw a black figure walking around in the dining room, and by the time I went to check it out, the Shadow Man was gone. The reason I knew it was him is because I got a better look at him than I usually did. After that, I started getting scared. Now I thought, hey, maybe it's just a mistake and maybe it was just my imagination. Maybe it was something that, I was just making up in my head, as I just mentioned. But now I just learned that last night my mom woke up to a black figure. The way she described it matches the exact same thing I saw. Standing near her bed and looking down at her, and when she woke up, it disappeared. Now, back when I was a kid, it caused me anger issues, from what I believe, and now, as of late, I have been feeling more annoyed, angry, bitter, hateful. At the moment, I am trying to tell myself that it is all in my head, but I was wondering what you guys thought, and is there a way for me to get it out of my life? I am honestly so scared to lose what's left of who I am. I already hate most people. I didn't when I was younger. There are times I don't feel emotions, and to be honest, I don't value human life at all. I'm not a psychopath. I just don't care about people at all, and don't feel anything when people die around me. I still try to be nice, and I still try and care for people, but I've always felt like there was a part of me missing. A part of my soul. I'm agnostic. So what do you guys think? Anything will help. Real experience with Bloody Mary. I was only 7 at the time. A few friends and I went to a bowling alley. Now our parents belong to a bowling group, so we just chilled at the arcade part. One of the other kids told us a story about Bloody Mary. My friends and I didn't believe them. So me and 2 of my friends went to the men's room. All we had was a flashlight. We turned off all the lights and chanted, "Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary." My one friend then flashed a flashlight on and quickly off. I looked at the mirror and there was a girl. She looked like she was in her early 20s. She was looking the other way, yet started to turn towards us. My friend and I bolted out of there before she attacked us like the legend says. After this experience, I feel like someone's always watching me. I haven't tried contacting any other spirits after this. A few months after my friend did this, my dad died. Could she have driven him crazy enough to kill himself? Could the spirit be so full of rage it drives people to shoot themselves? Now, ever since this happened, my moods are different. I'm 15 and sometimes I'll just suddenly go into depression. Some days I just want to curl up and die. Could this be revenge for summoning her all these years ago? My friends who did this with me all stopped talking to me. I met one recently and she seems okay. Could I have been the only one who's seen Bloody Mary? Could she only be after me? If she is, then why? This may have happened 7 or 8 years ago, but I still feel the effects.